Greetings, welcome to Facts About Everything. I am your host, James Egan. What species is Squidward? And before you ask, yes, it is a trick question. Squidward, despite his name, is an octopus, meaning that this show is unrealistic. And that is the first fact about Spongebob Squarepants. Let's dive in. The show was created by a marine biologist called Stephen Hillenburg. He presented the pitch of the show to the studio while playing relaxing Hawaiian music. Tom Kenny performed SpongeBob's voice. To do his signature laugh, he whacks his throat with his hand over and over while saying, ah. Is that right? I don't know. Ukraine's government believes the show is a real threat to children. Fictional sponges, get him off! Get him off! Tom Kenny said the SpongeBob's voice is based on an angry dwarf he once saw screaming. Yeah, don't need to make fun of that. SpongeBob's walk and gestures are based on the creator. When SpongeBob was born, the first thing he said was, "May I take your order?" Whenever there's a chaotic situation with lots of people screaming, someone can usually be heard in the background screaming, "My leg!" SpongeBob lives at 124 Conch Street. It takes up to 9 months to create each 11-minute cartoon. The Krabby Patty was going to be called the Barnacle Burger. Mr. Krabs' fishing boat is the SS Cheapskate. Most of the scripts and sketches are written on post-it notes. In Germany, the title translates into SpongeBob Spongehead. In Korea, the show is called Square Square Sponge. SpongeBob was supposed to be called Sponge Boy. SpongeBob is ambidextrous. In the episode Reef Blower, no one speaks. The pilot of the show wasn't released for 2 years. Mr. Krabs' first name is Eugene. In one episode, SpongeBob and his friends are resting by a campfire beside a sea under the ocean. There's a sea under the ocean and a fire under the ocean. I don't understand the show. I mean, I know nobody understands the show, but I really don't understand it. More than most people. Plankton's first name is Sheldon. Patrick the Starfish's surname is Star. The show was going to be called SpongeBob Ahoy. SpongeBob's personality is based on Pee Wee Herman and Jerry Lewis. The show has had many cameos, including Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Robin Williams, and Amy Poehler. Johnny Depp has cameoed. He voices Jack Kahuna Laguna. Victoria Beckham voices Amphitrite, and Johnny Knoxville voices Johnny Krill. There's a fungus named after SpongeBob SquarePants. It's called Spongiforma squarepantsi. The Krusty Krab is a lobster trap. SpongeBob has been the Krusty Krab's Employee of the Month for 374 months, which is just over 11 years. SpongeBob has been working at the Krusty Krab for over 31 years. The type of sponge that SpongeBob is can live for 500 years. SpongeBob's laugh is supposed to sound like a dolphin. By season 2, the writers ran out of ideas for stories and drove to the beach for inspiration. None of them got out of the car because it was too cold. Mrs. Puff is the only main character who is actually a fish, which is pretty odd for a show that's based under the ocean. Squidward is sometimes voiced by Dan Castellaneta. Dan is most famous for voicing Homer Simpson in The Simpsons. The Krusty Krab siren is the same as the one in the film The Shawshank Redemption. Weirdly, Clancy Brown, who voices Mr. Krabs, stars in the movie as well. It's pretty mind-blowing the first time you realize they are the same person.
Ahoy there, Krusty Krab! How can I help you? Pizza? Of course we have pizza! What are you Jimmy staring at? Back to work!
The French narrator is a homage to Jacques Cousteau. The creator, Stephen Hillenburg, was approached by Spike TV to make an adult version of the show, but he refused. Early in production, the main characters were going to be human. In most episodes, the Krusty Krab is to the left of SpongeBob's house. In some episodes, the Krusty Krab is on the right. Although not everyone's into the show, you can't deny just how powerful it is. This show, by itself, makes over 60% of Nickelodeon's earnings. That means this show makes more money than every other show Nickelodeon combined. David Bowie voices Lord Royal Highness.
Art is what happens when you learn to dream.
SpongeBob can remove his own arms. SpongeBob has won over 62 awards, including 2 BAFTAs. Pink sang on the show. Squidward believes that there are 7 bad words. This is a reference to legendary comedian George Carlin, who had a famous sketch show about 7 bad words, which I will not explain what those words are, because kids will be watching this video. SpongeBob has generated over $8 billion in revenue. That is pretty good for a fictional sponge. Some theorists believe that the 7 main characters' personalities are based on the 7 deadly sins. SpongeBob is supposed to represent lust. The show is the longest running Nickelodeon cartoon ever. Several episodes revolving around fire and explosions were not aired shortly after 9/11. The episode The Squeaky Boots is a parody of Edgar Allan Poe's short story The Telltale Heart. Patrick Star and Gary the Snail are first cousins. Starfish are ectoderms, and a snail is a mollusk. The Krusty Krab used to be a retirement home called the Rusty Krab. When the creator was approached to make the Spongebob film, he hesitated for a year because he worried that the character's simple designs would pale against CGI-based films like Toy Story. In the Spongebob SquarePants movie, which came out in 2004, Scarlett Johansson voices Mindy.
Listen, you guys, the road to Shell City is really dangerous. There's crooks, killers, and monsters everywhere.
Alec Baldwin voices Dennis.
Now, where were we?
The tagline of the movie was bigger, squarier, spongier. The film was supposed to be the show's series finale. The trailer used footage from the films Das Boot, The Hunt for Red October, and U-571. The sequel, the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water, came out 11 years after the first movie. Justin Timberlake was considered to sing a song for the SpongeBob SquarePants film, but Hillenburg rejected this idea because he didn't want any of those commercial weirdos on the soundtrack. Sponge Out of Water uses 2D animation, CGI animation, live action, and stop motion. Many of the characters eat chum. Chum is ground up salmon. This means that the fish in the show are technically cannibals. Several episodes were made in stop motion. The SpongeBob SquarePants theme song is one of the most common marching songs in the Russian military. Oh yeah, because of the reasons? The show's humor is based on Lauren Hardy. This is the only show on Nickelodeon to release over 200 episodes. In the episode Karate Island, Sandy Cheeks wears the same yellow jumpsuit as Bruce Lee in the 1978 film Game of Death. Because every child will get all of those references. Old Man Jenkins looks drastically different almost every time he appears.
Although the show has been nominated for over 10 Emmys, it's never won. The tagline is bigger, better, more absorbent.
And finally, SpongeBob celebrates Leah If Erikson Day. Leah If Erikson is the Viking who is often credited with discovering America, even though it was actually Bjarne Haraldson. Which brings me right back to my first fact, makes this show very inaccurate. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe. Please let me know if there's any other cartoons you want me to do a video about, and I'll upload it as soon as possible. Also, if you want to learn more about cartoons, check out my books, 1000 Facts About Animated Shows, Volume 1, 2, or 3, or you can get the entire thing as a compendium, 3000 Facts About Animated Shows. It's available on paperback and Kindle on Amazon. To learn more facts, check out my books on Amazon. They're available on paperback and Kindle. Thanks for watching. See you again.